The individual is handicapped by coming face to face with a conspiracy so monstrous that he cannot believe it even exists. And that's the problem we have today. This conspiracy is so monstrous, so demonic, that we tell people about it and they say, "You're crazy. This is America. It can't happen here."
We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go
I'm
on.
sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322?
First of all, he's not the nominee. And, look, I look for...
Are you prepared to lose?
No, I'm not going to lose.
Both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it.
Are we at one of those moments in history in which there is the necessity for a new world order? A, because of what's taken place in the Middle East, the rise of different kinds of groups, and B, what's happened in Asia, meaning that there has been a shift from the West to the East.
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
All these new challenges are bringing together about the biggest restructuring we have ever seen, not just of the global economy, but of the global order as a whole. And 200 years ago, a famous British Foreign Secretary said that the new world had been called into existence to redress the balance of the old. In 1990, another old world ended, dominated by the Cold War, and people talked then, in 1990, of a new world order.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary.
The world will someday be a better place if you would only seek the true answers. The Council on Foreign Relations is a promotional arm of the ruling elite in the United States of America. Most influential politicians, academics, and media personalities are members, and it uses influence to infiltrate the New World Order into American life. Its experts write scholarly pieces to be used in decision-making. The academics expound on the wisdom of a united world, and the media members disseminate the message. The CFR states that it is host to many views, advocate of none, and it has no affiliation with the U.S. government. No affiliation at all? If you don't count. A council member was elected President of the United States. Dozens of other council colleagues were called to serve in cabinet and sub-cabinet positions, as they described it in Foreign Affairs, along with many members of Congress, the Supreme Court, the Joint Chiefs, the Federal Reserve, and many other federal bureaucrats. They are not affiliated with the government. They are the government, in effect. The Trilateral Commission was established in 1973. Its founder and primary financial angel was international financier David Rockefeller, longtime chairman of the Rockefeller family, controlled Chase Manhattan Bank, and undisputed overlord of his family's global corporate empire. Rockefeller's idea for establishing the commission emerged after he had read a book entitled Between Two Ages, written by an establishment scholar, Professor Brzezinski of Columbia University. In his book, Brzezinski proposed a vast alliance between North America, Western Europe, and Japan. According to Brzezinski, changes in the modern world required it. Resist as it might, Brzezinski wrote elsewhere, the American system is compelled gradually to accommodate itself to this emerging international context, with the U.S. government called upon to negotiate, to guarantee, and to some extent to protect the various arrangements that have been contrived even by private business. In other words, it was necessary for the international upper class to band together to protect its interests and to ensure in the developed nations that political leaders were brought to power who would ensure that the global financial interests of the Rockefellers and the other ruling elites would be protected over those of the hoi polloi. Although the initial arrangements for the commission were laid out in a series of meetings held at the Rockefellers' famous Pocatico Hills estate outside New York City, Rockefeller first introduced the idea of the commission at an annual meeting of the Bilderberg Group, this one held in Noki, Belgium, in the spring of 1972. The Trilateral Commission was unique, though in that it brought the Japanese ruling elite into the inner council of the global power brokers, a recognition of Japan's growing influence in the world economic and political arena. The Commission's purpose is to engineer an enduring partnership among the ruling classes of North America, Western Europe, and Japan, hence the term trilateral. In order to safeguard the interests of Western capitalism in an explosive world, the private commission is attempting to mold public policy and construct a framework for international stability in the coming decades. To put it simply, trilateralists are saying the people, governments, and economies of all nations must serve the needs of multinational banks and corporations. In short, trilateralism is the current attempt by ruling elites to manage both dependence and democracy at home and abroad. Another trilateral critic, now retired Senator Barry Goldwater of Arizona, views the commission as a Rockefeller's family operation through and through. According to Goldwater, the trilateral organization created by David Rockefeller was a surrogate. The members selected by Rockefeller, its purpose defined by Rockefeller, its funding supplied by Rockefeller. David Rockefeller screened and selected every individual who was invited to participate. David Rockefeller and Brzezinski then began the process of selecting from among the trilateral nations the several hundred elite power brokers who would be permitted to join in trilateral policymaking in the coming years. One of the Commission's primary goals was to place a trilateral influenced president in the White House in 1976. And to achieve that goal, it was necessary to groom an appropriate candidate who would be willing to cooperate with trilateral aims. Rockefeller and Brzezinski selected a handful of well-known liberal Democrats and scattering of Republicans, primarily of the liberal internationalist bent, to serve on the Commission. And in an effort to give regional balance to the Commission, Rockefeller invited the then obscure one-term Democratic governor of Georgia, Jimmy Carter, to join the Commission. And Rockefeller himself had once even invited Carter to dine with him at the Chase Manhattan Bank several years before, as early as 1971.
All right, I'll answer it. All right. Okay. Now wait a minute. You said you would go if I answered the question, right? You said you would go if I answered the question. You said you would go if I answered the question. You said you would go if I answered the question. All right, here's the answer. I happened to be in Europe then on my way to Russia. I was invited to go to Bilderberg by Vernon Jordan, a friend of mine and a genuine hero of the civil rights movement. And to the best of my knowledge, NAFTA was not discussed by anybody in my presence. I was talking to people who happened to be from Europe who did not give a rip about NAFTA.
Most super elite societies. The Bilderberg Group has taken over this high-end hotel in an Ottawa suburb. They arrive in bulletproof SUVs and limos under very tight security and no media allowed.
I need you to get off the property. Okay, I really do. Thank you. Can you tell us? I need you just to follow me straight off the property.
He refused to confirm the presence of European royalty such as Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands and corporate moguls, financier David Rockefeller for one, and Republican power brokers Henry Kissinger and New York Governor George Pataki.
Just need you to stand right here. Remain off the property.
130 of the world's most influential personalities are here at this annual gathering. They say the ultra-secret meetings encourage freewheeling discussions on global events, but they won't disclose their conclusions.
So that's not enough.
This kind of secrecy propagates conspiracy theories.
On the big issues, the price of oil, the invasion of Iran, etc., the breakup of Canada, incidentally, those things are happening right here.
They do not like independent nations. They like regions of slaves working for them.
Some influential Canadians are also here. Frank McKenna, Canada's former U.S. ambassador, and Power Corporation boss Paul Desmarais. Even some MPs are worried they're plotting world domination.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that at all. Who elected these guys to run the planet?
Pierre Trudeau, Jean Chrétien, and Paul Martin have all attended this elite group. And so did Stephen Harper in 2003. The Prime Minister's office says Stephen Harper is apparently not attending this year's event, but it's been clouded in such secrecy that Canadians probably wouldn't know, even if he did.
When you've got secret meetings,
The goal of regional or metropolitan government is to eventually merge the U.S. into the New World Order, a one-world socialist state under the United Nations. Regional government is a plan to eventually control all facets of our lives. Executive Order 11490 assigns numerous emergency preparedness functions to federal departments.
First, happy United Nations Day. Yes, it is the one day of the year we can all celebrate to the UN by sitting back, kicking back, doing nothing, watching the world go to hell, just like the real United Nations. Actually, some in Washington have a different idea how to celebrate, which I believe puts our liberty in peril. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee, led by Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, thought it would be fun to rubber stamp passage of LOST. This is the law of the sea treaty that you're not hearing an awful lot about in the mainstream media. Fortunately, Republican Senator David Vitter exercised his right to have the committee defer consideration, and you fall to your knees, and thank God for this guy today. The sea treaty is as ill-conceived as the idea of the United Nations itself. Basically, it says that the resources of the seabed beyond any country's international waters belong to, quote, the common heritage of mankind, and are not to be owned by anybody. Bullcrap. Somebody always owns everything, and in this case, it would be owned by the UN. The pact creates an international seabed authority, which could issue licenses, collect taxes, and create an all-powerful ruling body called the Enterprise that should shake you to the core of your bones. I'll explain in a second. Now, the UN is bad enough, but do we really have to answer to yet another international collection of do-nothings? Worse yet, if participation in LOST, if we participate in it, it could force the U.S. to compromise sensitive information in the name of environmental regulation. The bottom line is this: we need our leaders in Washington to band together against this incredibly bad idea, and they're on the fence. If impartial third-party organizations like the United Nations actually did some good, like helping stop terrorism or preventing Iran from getting a nuke, that would be one thing, but I still wouldn't support it, because in the end, the United Nations and other international organizations do not answer to we the people.
How many Freemasons does it take to change a light bulb? Actually, I can't tell you. It's a secret. Say Freemasons, and I think of rolled-up trouser legs, dodgy handshakes, and mysterious rituals.
I'm not a Mason, but the Grand Lodge in London is open to everyone.
Now, this is the entrance to the Grand Temple at Freemasons Hall.
Martin Fawkes has been a Freemason since he was 23. He believes the fraternity has had a bad press, and it's time to tip the balance in their favour.
A lot of people have speculated about what happens inside a Masonic temple, so I'd like to explain to you exactly what we do.
Thank you. Wow.
In this Grand Temple, Freemasons take part in a very strange ceremonial ritual in order to be initiated into the Brotherhood.
The preparation is rather complex. First of all, you're blindfolded. One of your shoes is taken off, and you've got a slipper. You have your left breast exposed, and you have a noose put around your neck. And yes, it's true, one of your trouser legs is rolled up.
That's true.
It is true.
Why are these things done?
They're all symbolic. So, for example, the trouser leg, it's to show that you weren't an escaped convict trying to join, and so on, so by seeing if there's actually a manacle on your ankles.
And what did you gain yourself from the ritual?
It did move me quite dramatically, and because it makes you look at yourself and think, what kind of person am I? What are my vices? If you want to change your bad qualities to good qualities, you need to look at yourself.
So, Freemasonry, they claim, is about virtue, but not, it seems, about revealing the whole truth.
Are you allowed to show me the handshake?
No.
You're
Just like you wouldn't want to show me your PIN number. If I break my word and show it to you, what's my word worth?
Freemasonry of legend dates back to medieval Knights Templar. What we know for certain is that the first Grand Lodge was formed in England in 1717 as a trade association for stonemasons.
Originally it was about, building physical buildings. Now it's about building yourself into the most honourable and virtuous person you can be. It's about self-improvement, really.
But should we believe Freemasons are completely on the level? In the 80s, there were several investigations into the corrupting influence of Freemasonry within the police force. Today, all judges and police officers are obliged to declare membership.
This is Toy Kenning and Spencer, where they've sold masonry regalia for over 300 years. They used to have shutters at the windows so no one could see inside. The only other stores who do that are of a slightly more dubious nature down the road in Soho.
This is where Freemasons get to dress up. The must-have buy is an apron.
Can I come round here?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. So, this is the apron. Can I try one of these aprons? Would you mind? I just want to see what it's like to wear a Masonic apron.
So really you would put it around there and do it up, and that's how you wear it.
Yep. And so what else goes with this?
With this you would need a pair of white gloves.
May I? What's the significance of the white gloves?
Some say it's because people's hands can't be seen, so you wouldn't know whether the guy next to you digs roads or is a brain surgeon. You all look the same.
Could be a mime artist.
You could be a mime artist.
Or a snooker referee. It would tell.
It would tell.
Also in store is the latest controversial Freemasons book by best-selling author Robert Lomas.
You have the most wonderful claim to fame. Apparently, the character Robert Langdon in the Da Vinci Code is based on you.
Yes, it
The same initials, a very similar CV. You both drive the same car, so I understand?
Yes, and it does wonders for my street cred with my undergraduates. But, you know, we've been taught by Robert Langdon. I only wish I had anything like as exciting a life as he does.
So you haven't solved any murders?
I've not solved a single murder ever, but I have written books on symbolism.
You're the first person, I understand, to have revealed the rituals. Written it all down in the book, not only describing what happens, but also what it feels like. How come that's never happened before?
I think people have been afraid of doing it, because in the past there's been a lot of exposés done from people who weren't Freemasons, trying to reveal that there is a dark, hidden mystery, a deep evil at the middle of it. There isn't an evil. There's actually a force for good.
So what's been the reaction from the more traditional Masonic fraternity?
I've had a few grumpy responses from the more wrinkly brethren, but I think if Freemasonry doesn't become more open, it will be the author of its own destruction, and it will be its own fault.
Some people see the Freemasons as being slightly sinister. Is that fair?
I suppose we could be considered rather sinister. I mean, if you look at the sort of things that we wear, and the sort of symbols that we wear, then perhaps we are a little bit odd. But I don't think we're actually spooky.
The rituals are obviously deeply personal. Is it a religion?
It's not a religion.
Freemasons are encouraged to study and practice Hermeticism. Hermeticism is the practice of religion by the Hermetic. This religion was secret, occult, especially the Western mystery tradition, the New Age dictionary. Hermetics generally followed the ancient Egyptian satanic mysteries. The Roman Catholic Church instituted the Inquisition in the 5th century to kill Hermetics. By encouraging their members to study and practice Hermeticism, Freemasonry, by definition, labels itself occultic. The Bohemian Club is a private all-male club, which is headquartered in the Bohemian Building in San Francisco. It was formed in 1872 by men who sought shelter from the frontier culture, or lack of culture. The club has evolved into an association of rich and powerful men, mostly of America. There are similar organizations in other countries. Some artists are allowed to join, often at reduced rates, because of their social status and entertainment value. The membership list has included every Republican U.S. president, as well as some Democrats, since 1923. Many cabinet officials and directors and CEOs of large corporations, including major financial institutions. Major military contractors, oil companies, banks, including the Federal Reserve, utilities, including nuclear power, and national media, broadcast and print, have high-ranking officials as club members or guests. Many members are, or have been on the board of directors of several of these corporations. You should note that most of the above industries depend heavily on a relationship with government for their profitability. When powerful people work together, they become even more powerful. The Grove membership is wealthy and becoming more so, while the middle class is steadily becoming poorer. This close-knit group determines whether prices rise or fall by their control of the banking system, money supply, and markets. And they make money whichever way markets fluctuate. They determine what our rights are and which laws have effect by appointing judges. They decide who our highest officials shall be by consensus among themselves and then selling candidates to us via the media, which they own. Important issues and facts are omitted from discussion in the press or slanted to suit their goals, but they are discussed frankly at the Grove. Is there true democracy when so much power is concentrated in so few hands? Is there any real difference between the public and private sectors when cabinet members come from the boardrooms of large corporations? Is the spending of billions on weapons, which are by consensus no longer needed, really the will of the people? Or is it the will of General Electric, General Dynamics, and the other weapons contractors represented at the Grove? In conclusion, with all of these secretive organizations running our countries, wouldn't you think something is very wrong with that? Why should we obey their laws and rules when they can't even be trusted? organizations and secret societies, let's have a look at some of the biggest names in corporations throughout the globe. We'll start with General Electric, which was founded by Thomas Edison, Elihu Thomson, and Edwin Houston in 1878, which is the world's third largest company with market capitalization of nearly $370 billion and an annual revenue of $173 billion. The company produces practically everything from aircraft engines to locomotives to medical devices. General Electric's media holding includes television networks, NBC and Telemundo, 27 television stations in the United States, and many cable TV networks, including the History Channel, A&E, and the Sci-Fi Channel. It also owns the popular web-based TV website Hulu. The CEO of General Electric is Jeffrey Immelt, who is also a member of the board of the Federal Reserve. Time Warner is the world's largest media and entertainment company. It owns major operations in film, TV, print, internet, and telecommunications. Time Warner has an annual revenue of $50.5 billion. It owns the Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, Turner Classic Films, CNN, and Headline News, some of the most watched television channels in the world. The chairman and CEO of Time Warner is Jeffrey L. Bukes, who is also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. The CEO of Time Warner is Jerry Levin, who is also a member of the political organization, the Trilateral Commission. Next we have News Corporation, founded by Rupert Murdoch. It is one of the largest media companies in the world by market capitalization of $38 billion. For most people, the conservative news channel, Fox, comes foremost to mind when asked what they think of Murdoch's media empire. But the company's holding is far larger. It includes Asia's Star TV network, the National Geographic Channel, and even the iconic TV Guide network. Even if you like to browse the internet, most likely you visited News Corp's property. The company owns Hulu, which is in partnership with General Electric through its subsidiary, NBC Universal. And News Corp also owns the popular giant in social networking MySpace. The Fortune 500 American multinational corporation, Pepsi Company, not only makes soft drinks, but it also makes many other products we all know of. Some of the brands the company owns or is in partnership with are Quaker Oats, Gatorade, Frito-Lay, Sobe, Naked Juice, Tropicana, Copella, Mountain Dew, Mirinda, 7-Up, Doritos, Lipton Iced Tea, and Starbucks Frappuccino. Pepsi Company's estimated revenue is $43 billion. It has been a huge success since Caleb Bradham, a pharmacist and industrialist, started the company in 1898 by the name the Pepsi-Cola Company. In 1965, it merged with Frito-Lay to form the most recent name. Until 1997, the Pepsi Company also owned Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell, but they were spun off into Yum Brands Incorporated. The current CEO of the company is Indra Nooyi, who is also a member of the Trilateral Commission and is on the board of directors of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. JP Morgan Chase is one of the oldest financial services firms in the world. It is a leader in financial services with assets of $2.3 trillion and the largest market capitalization and deposit base of any U.S. banking institution. The hedge fund unit of JP Morgan Chase is the largest hedge fund in the United States with $34 billion in assets as of 2007. Formed in 2000 when Chase Manhattan Corp. Acquired JP Morgan & Company, the firm serves millions of consumers in the United States and many of the world's most prominent corporate, institutional, and government clients. The JP Morgan brand is used by the investment bank as well as the asset management, private banking, private wealth management, and treasury and securities services divisions. Fiduciary activity within private banking and private wealth management is done under JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A., the actual trustee. The Chase brand is used for credit card services in the United States and Canada, the bank's retail banking activities in the United States, and commercial banking. The CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase & Company is James Dimon, who is also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. David Rockefeller was a former CEO of the company and still to this day is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, and the Bilderberg Group. Walmart Stores Incorporated is an American public corporation that runs a chain of large discount department stores. It is the world's largest public corporation by revenue at $404 billion, according to 2008 Fortune Global 500. It was founded by Sam Walton in 1962, and it was incorporated on October 31st, 1969, and listed on the New York Stock Exchange in 1972. Walmart is the largest private employer in the U.S. and also the largest grocery retailer in the United States, with an estimated 20% of the retail grocery and consumables business. It also owns and operates the North American company Sam's Club. Walmart operates in Mexico as Walmex, in the UK as Asda, and in Japan as Sui. The company has been criticized by some community groups, women's rights groups, grassroots organizations, and labor unions, specifically for its extensive foreign product sourcing, low rates of employee health insurance enrollment, resistance to union representation, alleged sexism, and management efforts to pressure employees to vote for specific parties during national elections. George W. Bush was one of the main voting choices through Walmart. A poll indicated that after the 2004 U.S. presidential election, 76% of voters who shopped at Walmart once a week voted for George W. Bush, while only 23% supported John Kerry. When measured against other similar retailers in the U.S., frequent Walmart shoppers were rated the most politically conservative. Something that most people don't know is that from 1985 through 1992, Hillary Clinton was on the members of the board for Walmart. The Coca-Cola Company is the world's largest beverage company, largest manufacturer, distributor, and marketer of non-alcoholic beverage concentrates and syrups in the world, and is one of the largest corporations in North America. The company is best known for its flagship product, Coca-Cola, invented by pharmacist John Stith Pemberton in 1886. The Coca-Cola formula and brand was bought in 1889 by Asa Candler, who incorporated the Coca-Cola Company in 1892. Besides its namesake Coca-Cola beverage, Coca-Cola currently offers nearly 400 brands in over 200 countries or territories and serves 1.5 billion servings each day. The Coca-Cola Company only produces the syrup, which then is sold to bottlers who hold a Coca-Cola franchise. Coca-Cola Enterprises is the franchise which bottles for North America, Great Britain, continental France, and the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium, and Monaco. The current CEO, Muhtar Kent, is a member of the Bilderberg Group. Some of the other top corporations are ExxonMobil, which was in part founded by David Rockefeller, Goldman Sachs, a bank holding company. Former Vice Chairman Robert Zoellick was a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, and the Bilderberg Group. The CEO of the company is Lloyd C. Blankfein, who is also on the Foreign Exchange Committee for the Federal Reserve. The largest media and entertainment company, Disney, has many board of directors. John E. Bryson, the Trilateral Commission member, John S. Chen, who's on Council on Foreign Relations, and Monica C. Lozano, who is also on the Council on Foreign Relations. The CEO of Pfizer, which is a top pharmaceutical company in the world, is Jeffrey B. Kindler, who is also the president of Partner Brands McDonald's and the vice president of General Electric. A former CEO was Henry A. McKinnell, Jr., who at the time was also on the Trilateral Commission. Are you starting to see the pattern here? All corporations, political organizations, media, entertainment companies, and food industries are all connected in one way or another. They control the media, politics, and what we buy every single day of our lives.
Merck said today that data from a clinical trial found an increased risk for heart attack and stroke.
It's a controversy that just will not go away. Is the skyrocketing rate of autism in children due in any way at all to the mercury long contained in childhood vaccines?
It's an issue our chief investigative reporter Steve Wilson has stayed with from the start. And Steve, will science ever answer this one?
Well, Diana and Stephen, good evening. With 1 in 150 children now stricken, there's certainly a demand for an answer. But now the prevailing strategy seems to be to downplay the possibility of any link so that parents will continue to vaccinate their children.
A loving grandmother and president of the American Academy of Pediatrics, Dr. Renee Jenkins, is among those in medicine, in government, in the media, pretty much telling parents this problem's been solved. There is no mercury in the routine schedule of childhood vaccines anymore, except maybe just trace amounts. She's talking about a mercury-based vaccine preservative called thimerosal, and the truth is, there's
Quitting smoking is not easy. If you are serious about it, talk to your doctor.
GlaxoSmithKline is one of the biggest European companies with an annual revenue of 24.25 billion euros. Some of the pharmaceutical products they make are Amoxil, Aquafresh, Boost, Lamoxin, Nicoderm, Tums, Zantac, and Zyban. The North American president of the company is Deidre P. Connolly. She is also the president of the U.S. operations for Eli Lilly and on the board of directors for Macy's department stores. Derek Mahan is on the board of directors. He is also on the board of directors for BlackRock Incorporated and Thomson Reuters. He was the chairman and CEO of Citigroup in 1998 to 2004, is an employee of Goldman Sachs, and is a member of the Knights of the British Empire and the Trilateral Commission. His total compensation for 2008 was approximately $805,000. The non-executive director of the company is James Murdoch, who is the son of Rupert Murdoch. He is also the non-executive chairman for British Sky Broadcasting Group and is the director and CEO of News Corporation Europe and Asia. His total compensation for 2008 was $1,357,000.
Who's buzzing about better blood sugar control with Byetta?
It helped me starting day one.
Me too, day after day. People with type 2 diabetes who need better blood sugar control are talking to their doctor about adding Byetta to certain diabetes pills. In clinical studies, up to 4 times as many people on Byetta reach their blood sugar goals compared to those not on Byetta.
Though not a weight loss product, Byetta may also reduce your appetite and weight. On average, patients lost 5 pounds over time. Byetta comes in a pre-filled injection pen that uses a very small needle.
Byetta is not a substitute for insulin, so don't use it if you take insulin. Tell your doctor about your medical conditions, all medications, and if you have severe stomach or kidney problems.
The combination of Byetta and a sulfonylurea may cause low blood sugar.
Side effects may include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and feeling jittery.
Call your doctor if you get severe abdominal pain or persistent vomiting, which could be signs of a serious condition.
Ask your doctor if Byetta is right for you.
Better control can start today.
Pass it on.
Eli Lilly is a pharmaceutical and healthcare company with an annual revenue of $18.63 billion. Some of the brand names they make are Prozac, Humalog, Cialis, Strattera, Darvocet, Symbyax, Byetta, and Thimerosal. George H.W. Bush was on the board of directors in 1977 to 1979. Karen N. Horn is on the board of directors. She is also on the board of directors for Fannie Mae, Georgia Pacific, Simon Property Group, and Norfolk Southern Corp. She was the CEO of Bank One in 1987 to 1996. President of the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland in 1982 to 1987, and on the board of directors of the Council on Foreign Relations in 1992 to 1995. Her total compensation in 2008 was around $782,000. Martin Feldstein is on the board of directors. He is a member of the J.P. Morgan Chase International Council, the Wall Street Journal Board of Contributors, and is the U.S. Federal Reserve Governor, and member of the Bilderberg Group. He was a member of the Council on Foreign Relations in 1980, and a member of the Trilateral Commission in 1984. His total compensation for 2008 was approximately $302,000. Ralph Alvarez is on the board of directors. He is also the President, Chief Officer, and Director of McDonald's Corporation, the Corporate Vice President of Wendy's, and President of Burger King Canada. His total compensation in 2008 was $7 million. Pfizer is one of the healthcare giants with an annual revenue of $48.4 billion. Some of the products they make are Acupril, Lipitor, Viagra, Zoloft, Bengay, Celebrex, Viracept, and Xanax. As I mentioned in the corporations section on the DVD, Jeffrey B. Kindler is the CEO of Pfizer, and his total compensation in 2008 was $13.7 million. Dana G. Mead is on the board of directors, and he is also on the board of directors for Zurich Insurance Company. He was the CEO of Tenneco in 1994 to 1999, and was in the U.S. Army in 1957 to 1970. He is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. M. Anthony Burns is the Director and Chairman Emeritus. He is also on the Board of Directors for Black & Decker, J.C. Penney Company, and J.P. Morgan Chase. He was the CEO of Ryder in 1983 to 2000, and worked with Mobil for 9 years before it merged with Exxon to form ExxonMobil. His total compensation in 2008 was $648,000. Another board member is Susan Nora Johnson, who is also on the board of directors for Intuit and Visa. She was the vice chairman of Goldman Sachs in 2004 to 2007, and she was a law clerk to the U.S. Court of Appeals. She is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Her total compensation in 2008 was $679,000. William H. Gray is on the board of directors, who is also a member of the board for J.P. Morgan Chase, Dell Incorporated, and Prudential Financial Incorporated. He was a U.S. Congressman of Pennsylvania in 1979 to 1991. He is also a Freemason and on the Trilateral Commission. His total compensation in 2008 was approximately $882,000. Merck is a pharmaceutical company with an annual revenue of $22.9 billion. Some of the products they have made are Gardasil, Singular, Propecia, Proscar, Vioxx, Antivenin, Zocor, Zostavox, Proquad, and Rototec. The CEO of the companies is Richard T. Clark, who had a total compensation of $19.9 million in 2008. Ann M. Tatlock is on the board of directors and is also on the board of directors for Fortune Brands and Franklin Resources. She is a friend of Hillary Clinton and is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Her total compensation for 2008 was approximately $1.7 million. Rochelle B. Lazarus is on the board of directors and is also on the board of directors for Ann Taylor Stores and General Electric. She is the CEO and chairman for Ogilvy and Mather Advertising. Her total compensation in 2008 was approximately $483,000. William B. Harrison is on the board of directors as well. He was the CEO and president of J.P. Morgan Chase in 2000 to 2005, and was the CEO and president of Chase Manhattan in 1999 to 2000. He is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. His total compensation in 2008 was $307,000. Procter & Gamble is one of the biggest companies with an annual revenue of approximately $83.5 billion. Some of the products they make are Always, Ariel, Bounty, Braun, Crest, Dawn, Downy, Duracell, Fusion, Gain, Gillette, Head & Shoulders, Old Spice, Nice and Easy, Olay, Oral-B, Pampers, Pantene, Pringles, Puffs, Secret, Tag, Tide, Vicks, and Whisper. Procter & Gamble not only produces all consumer goods, but they also produce television shows. Procter & Gamble produced the first radio soap opera. Alan G. Lafley is the CEO and chairman of the company, and is also on the board of directors for Dell Incorporated and General Electric. His total compensation in 2008 was a whopping $23.5 million. Charles R. Lee is on the board of directors, who is also on the board of directors for DirecTV, Marathon Oil, United Technologies, and U.S. Steel. He was the CEO of Verizon in 2000 to 2002, but is still on the board of directors. His total compensation in 2008 was $1.15 million. Ernesto Zedillo is on the board of directors as well, and he is also on the board of directors for Alco, EDS, and Union Pacific. He's on the J.P. Morgan Chase International Council, and during 1994 to 2000, he was the Mexican president. His total compensation for 2008 was approximately $451,000. Another board of directors member is Kenneth Chenault. He is also on the board of directors for Brooklyn Union Gas, IBM, and Quaker Oats. He is also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Kenneth's total compensation for 2008 was $27.3 million. Lynn Martin is on the board of directors. She is also on the board of directors for AT&T, Constellation Energy Group, Dreyfus Funds, Ryder, and TRW. She was the U.S. Secretary of Labor in 1991 to 1993, and was also the Illinois State Senate in 1979 to 1980. Lynn is also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Phi Beta Kappa Society. Rajat K. Gupta is another board member. He is also the chairman of the board for Genpact Limited, is on the board of directors for American Airlines, Goldman Sachs, and Harman International Industries, and he's also a trustee of the Rockefeller Foundation. His total compensation in 2008 was approximately $1.5 million. The presiding director of Procter & Gamble is W. James McNamee. He is also the chairman and CEO of the Boeing Company. He was the president and CEO of General Electric Aircraft Engines in 1997 to 2000, was the CEO of 3M in 2001 to 2005, and his total compensation in 2008 was $18.9 million. Usually when you work for a company, you're supposed to be dedicated to that company only. These people work for multiple corporations and belong to government organizations. They feed on money.
I believe that the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution abolishes slavery.
You know, what it was like for me all my life prior to waking up, realising that my whole life's been a lie, that I've been lied to, and that working hard and doing all the right things is what's going to see you through in life, and it's going to get you your dream house and your dream this and your dream that, and I've realised that that's just all a load of rubbish. You know, the system's designed to get you in debt from an early age. You know, credit cards with cartoon characters on it and this sort of carry on, and enticing young people to be in debt as soon as they leave school, so that they're drawn into the system. They've got no choice to do anything other than go and work to pay the banks.
I'll start off tonight by talking about the conditioning going on with this swine flu thing. Look, this is just conditioning to get you to go stand in line to get some shot, and who knows what that's going to do to you. The last time they did that, you know, you can read about it over here. I'll put the link on the side of CNN. Ron Paul talked about the last time they did this, where 26 people got killed by the vaccine and only one person died of the flu. Well, from the reports I can see, only from 20 to 68 deaths are actually confirmed from the swine flu anyway. And it seems to be going away. And yet the World Health Organization is just going crazy still, and our government is still talking about all kinds of drastic measures. And folks, when they talk about you can't go to the movies, that's just a blanket description. That doesn't mean it's just you can't go to the movies. That means you can't go to church, you can't go to the movies, you can't protest, you can't, you know, who knows how many. They may even regulate how many people can walk down the street at a time. So, you know, you have to be very afraid of them kind of things, you know. And, you know, part of the reason why these PSYOPs are so effective is it starts in school, right? And, you know, I've done a couple on school before. I'm going to go right to it right now, because if you think this conditioning, if the New World Order doesn't exist, then look, okay, y'all know I'm in school, and you know, I'm in sociology this semester, right? So I'm going to put up here's the cover, right? But I'll insert a clip with the clear picture. But here it is, right? There you go. And here's the deal, right? Now, you get going through here and it starts talking about corporations, right? But on page 322, imagine that. Now, that'll get conspiracy theorists going, huh? They start talking about the New World Order, right? And they start talking about things called interlocking directories, right? And what kills me, right, is they describe it as a spider web, right? Now, any of you guys know anything about secret societies and the occult and all that know that they call it like a web, you know? And also, the Nazis used the spider web as a description of the people that funded helping the Nazis escape from Germany after World War II was also the web.
I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm a little tired of all the struggle surrounding us, the struggle that you and I might be taking part in, or most likely are. I'm tired of the corruption.